Uruguay, 1930. FIFA organizes the first ever World Cup in 1930, selecting Uruguay as host to celebrate the nation's centennial independence and its back-to-back Olympic football golds. 13 teams participate, 7 from South America, 4 from Europe, and 2 from North America, with no qualifying stage. Most European nations declined the invitation, citing economic concerns and the long sea voyage, leaving France, Belgium, Yugoslavia, and Romania as the only UEFA representatives. Matches are played in Montevideo, centered around the newly constructed Estadio Centenario, a 90,000-seat concrete bowl completed in just 9 months. The tournament kicks off with Lucien Laurent of France scoring the first goal in World Cup history. Argentina, Uruguay, the US and Yugoslavia advanced to the semi-finals. Uruguay eliminated Yugoslavia by a score 6-1, a feat repeated by Argentina in their match against the US. The final belongs to the hosts. In the final on July 30th, Uruguay defeats rivals Argentina 4-2 in front of a massive, frenzied crowd, rallying from a 2-1 halftime deficit with 3 second-half goals. The team lifts the Jules Rimet Trophy, named after FIFA's president and the tournament's architect. Uruguay declares a national holiday the next day, cementing football's rise as a political and cultural force in the region. Italy, 1934. Italy hosts the 1934 World Cup under Benito Mussolini's fascist regime, becoming the first European nation to stage the tournament. For the first time, FIFA introduces a qualifying round. 32 nations enter, with 16 advancing to the finals. As hosts, Italy qualifies automatically, but bizarrely insists on playing and winning a qualifier anyway, then quietly changes the rule afterward. The event becomes a propaganda tool for Mussolini, who uses the tournament to showcase Italy's strength and unity on the international stage. On the pitch, Italy battles past Spain in a brutal quarterfinal that requires a replay, then narrowly defeats Austria's famed Wonder Team in a semi-final clouded by officiating controversy. In the final, Italy beats Czechoslovakia 2-1 after extra time, coming from behind with goals in the 81st and 95th minutes. Allegations surface that Mussolini handpicks referees and pressures officials, with many fearing reprisals for unfavorable decisions. The violent tone of the tournament, marked by fouls, intimidation, and lenient refereeing, casts a long shadow over Italy's first title. That shadow follows them to France in 1938, where the defending champions arrive amid rising political unrest. Italy, 1938. Italy defends its title in 1938, becoming the first team to win consecutive World Cups. Hosted by France, the tournament unfolds against the backdrop of mounting geopolitical tension, with Spain absent due to civil war and the Soviet Union opting out entirely. Argentina and Uruguay both boycott in protest of Europe hosting again, deepening the rift between South America and FIFA. Brazil lights up the early rounds but falls in the semi-finals to a disciplined and battle-tested Italy side. The Azzurri field 10 players from their 1934 title run, including captain Giuseppe Meazza, and overpower Hungary 4-2 in the final. Rumors swirl that Mussolini sends a telegram to the team before the match, allegedly reading, "Win or die," though no copy is ever found. Italy delivers regardless, with 2 goals inside the first 16 minutes. Despite their dominance, the political climate overshadows the achievement, as fascist salutes and propaganda symbols pepper the tournament. With war on the horizon, FIFA shelves the next 2 editions, and the World Cup vanishes for 12 years, until football returns to a rebuilt and roaring Maracanã. Uruguay, 1950. The World Cup returns in 1950, after a 12-year hiatus caused by World War II. Hosted by Brazil, the tournament introduces an unusual format. No knockout rounds, just 2 group stages, with the final 4 teams playing a round-robin to decide the champion. England enters the competition for the first time and promptly suffers a humiliating 1-0 loss to a semi-professional US team, one of the most shocking upsets in tournament history. Meanwhile, Brazil storms through its group with 13 goals in 2 games and enters the final match against Uruguay, needing only a draw to secure the title. Expecting victory, Brazil prepares nationwide celebrations, prints newspapers declaring themselves champions, and even distributes commemorative jerseys before kickoff. But in front of an estimated 200,000 fans at the Maracanã, Still the largest attendance in World Cup history, Uruguay stages a stunning upset. After falling behind in the 47th minute, Uruguay equalizes through Juan Schiaffino and wins it in the 79th, with Alcides Gigia's decisive strike. The match, forever known as the Maracanazo, devastates Brazil and silences the stadium. The fallout shapes the nation's football identity and leads directly to the birth of a golden generation beginning in 1958. West Germany, 1954. West Germany pulls off one of the greatest upsets in World Cup history in 1954, defeating Hungary 3-2 in what becomes known as the Miracle of Bern. The Hungarian team, led by captain Ferenc Puskás, enters the final on a 31-match unbeaten streak, having already demolished West Germany 8-3 in the group stage. Puskás returns for the final, despite playing on an injured ankle, and Hungary quickly surges to a 2-0 lead within 8 minutes. But West Germany fights back, equalizing by the 18th minute and eventually taking the lead through Helmut Rahm's second goal in the 84th minute. Key to Germany's comeback is their use of lightweight screw-in Adidas boots, which allow players better grip on the rain-soaked pitch. The result stuns the football world and marks West Germany's emergence from post-war isolation. Decades later, whispers of doping surface. Claims that players were injected with unknown substances before the final, but no official evidence ever confirms it. The victory galvanizes a fractured nation and reshapes global perceptions of German football. 4 years later, the world prepares for the rise of a teenage phenom and the beginning of Brazil's football dynasty. Brazil 1958. Brazil claims its first World Cup title in 1958 with a dazzling display of attacking football and the emergence of a generational talent. Held in Sweden, the tournament is the first to be broadcast internationally on television, introducing a global audience to the spectacle. At just 17 years old, Pelé explodes onto the scene, scoring 6 goals, including a hat-trick in the semi-final and 2 in the final. His second goal against Sweden, a flick over a defender followed by a volley, becomes an instant classic. Garrincha, Brazil's unpredictable and electrifying right-winger, dominates on the flank, stretching defenses and creating chaos in every match. Brazil defeats Sweden 5-2 in the final, becoming the first team from outside Europe to win on European soil. Still haunted by the 1950 Maracanazo, the Brazilian squad adopts a new identity, abandoning their white kits for the now iconic yellow and green. The victory launches Brazil onto the global stage as a footballing superpower. 4 years later, they return with even higher expectations, and a Pelé ready to prove his legend is no fluke. Brazil, 1962. Brazil defends its title in 1962 under chaotic and often brutal conditions in Chile. Just 2 years earlier, the host nation suffers one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded, forcing emergency construction and reshuffling of venues. On the pitch, violence defines the tournament. 4 red cards are issued, countless fouls go unpunished, and multiple matches devolve into fights, including the infamous Battle of Santiago between Chile and Italy. Brazil loses Pelé early to a thigh injury in the second group match, forcing the team to lean heavily on Garrincha. The unpredictable winger rises to the occasion, scoring 4 goals across the knockout rounds and dismantling defenses with ease. He's sent off in the semi-final against Chile, but FIFA, controversially, allows him to play the final. Brazil beats Czechoslovakia 3-1, rallying from a goal down to become only the second nation, after Italy in the 1930s, to win back-to-back World Cups. Garrincha, voted the tournament's best player, carries Brazil to glory without their teenage icon. But the dream of a third straight title unravels quickly, setting the stage for England's long-awaited breakthrough on home soil. England, 1966. England hosts and wins its first and still only World Cup in 1966, a tournament filled with drama both on and off the pitch. In the build-up, the Jules Rimet trophy is stolen during a public exhibition, triggering a nationwide panic until it's miraculously found in a suburban garden by a dog named Pickles. The tournament also debuts World Cup Willie, the first official mascot in World Cup history. On the field, England progresses methodically, conceding just 1 goal en route to the final at Wembley. There, they face West Germany in a tense extra-time battle. Geoff Hurst scores a historic hat-trick, including a controversial third goal in the 101st minute. His shot hits the underside of the crossbar and bounces down. Whether it fully crosses the line remains debated to this day. England wins 4-2, with Hurst adding a fourth in the final seconds as fans flood the pitch. Meanwhile, North Korea stuns Italy in the group stage, advancing to the quarterfinals in one of the biggest shocks of the era. England's triumph at home cements its place in football history, just in time for Pelé to return and reclaim the throne in 1970. Brazil, 1970. Brazil returns to dominance in 1970 with what many consider the greatest World Cup team ever assembled. Led by a 29-year-old Pelé, the squad dazzles viewers in the first World Cup broadcast in color, blending flair and efficiency with clinical precision. Mexico hosts the tournament at high altitude and in searing heat, factors that test players' endurance and influence tactics throughout. FIFA also introduces the yellow and red card system for the first time, standardizing how fouls and dismissals are communicated on the pitch. In the final, Brazil dismantles Italy 4-1, with Pelé opening the scoring and assisting the team's fourth. A legendary goal finished by captain Carlos Alberto after a fluid 20-pass build-up. The win secures Pelé's record third title, making him the only player in history to achieve that feat. Brazil finishes the tournament with 19 goals, winning every match and elevating their football to a global art form. Their performance sets a new bar for attacking brilliance. Just as political and tactical shifts begin to reshape Europe's response in the 1974 edition. West Germany, 1974. West Germany hosts the 1974 World Cup and captures its second title by outmaneuvering one of the most innovative teams in football history. The Netherlands, led by playmaker Johan Cruyff and their pioneering total football system, dominates early rounds and scores within 2 minutes of the final, before any German player touches the ball. But West Germany responds through Paul Breitner's penalty and Gerd Müller's 68th minute winner, edging the Dutch 2-1 in Munich. The match becomes a tactical clash. Fluid movement versus disciplined structure, with the hosts absorbing pressure and finishing ruthlessly. Off the pitch, the tournament marks several firsts. The Adidas Telstar, with its now iconic black and white paneled design, debuts and becomes a footballing symbol for generations. A new trophy is also introduced, replacing the Jules Rimet, which had been permanently awarded to Brazil in 1970 and later stolen in 1983. In a moment of Cold War tension, East Germany stuns West Germany 1-0 in the group stage, though both teams advance. West Germany's triumph, however, solidifies their post-war resurgence, setting the standard for pragmatic, tournament-winning football, just as Argentina prepares to host under an ominous political cloud. Argentina, 1978. Argentina hosts and wins the 1978 World Cup under the shadow of a brutal military dictatorship. The ruling junta uses the tournament as a propaganda tool, showcasing national pride while suppressing dissent and censoring opposition. Anti-government protests erupt around the world, accusing FIFA of turning a blind eye to human rights abuses. On the pitch, Argentina advances to the final after a controversial 6-0 win over Peru, a result many allege was fixed to ensure goal difference superiority over Brazil. No proof is ever confirmed, but the match remains one of the World Cup's most suspicious outcomes. In the final, Argentina faces the Netherlands for the second straight final appearance, with both teams tied 1-1 at full time. Mario Kempes, who finishes as top scorer with 6 goals, delivers in extra time with a powerful solo run and finish, ultimately sealing a 3-1 victory. The Dutch, again without Johan Cruyff, who skips the tournament amid security concerns, falls short once more. Argentina celebrates wildly, but the legacy of the tournament remains politically charged and morally complex. 4 years later, the focus shifts to Spain, where a new 24-team format and an Italian striker's redemption arc take center stage. Italy, 1982. The 1982 World Cup in Spain expands to a 24-team format, introducing a second group stage and increasing global participation. But it's remembered most for Paolo Rossi's stunning resurgence. Banned for 2 years due to a match-fixing scandal, Rossi returns just in time to lead Italy's attack, scoring 6 goals to win the Golden Boot. His hat-trick in a dramatic 3-2 victory over Brazil, considered one of the greatest World Cup matches ever, eliminates a team many believed to be unbeatable. Italy rides that momentum into the final, where they defeat West Germany 3-1 behind goals from Rossi, Marco Tardelli and Alessandro Altobelli. It's a match filled with tension, including the first red card ever issued in a World Cup final, though Claudio Gentile, Italy's infamous enforcer, somehow avoids one throughout the tournament. The competition also produces a low point. West Germany and Austria engineer a mutually beneficial 1-0 result in the group stage, eliminating Algeria in what becomes known as the disgrace of Gijon. Italy's triumph restores its footballing legacy and crowns a redemption story, just in time for the World Cup to be consumed by one man in Mexico 4 years later. Argentina, 1986. The 1986 World Cup in Mexico becomes the Diego Maradona tournament. Playing every minute for Argentina, Maradona scores 5 goals and delivers 5 assists, dominating the competition with unmatched creativity, balance, and control. No player touches the ball more throughout the tournament, and no player leaves a bigger imprint on its history. Against England in the quarterfinal, he scores 2 of the most iconic goals ever, the infamous Hand of God, where he punches the ball past the keeper undetected, and 4 minutes later, the goal of the century, slaloming past 5 defenders over 60 yards. Argentina goes on to beat West Germany 3-2 in the final at the Azteca Stadium, which hosts its record 3rd World Cup final. After leading 2-0, Argentina concedes twice in quick succession before Jorge Burruchaga's late breakaway winner secures the title. The tournament is marred by controversial fouls and physical play, particularly in the knockouts, but Maradona endures it all, often hacked and doubled, still orchestrating everything. His performance defines the modern era of the World Cup and cements Argentina's place in football history. But West Germany's back-to-back runner-up finishes only sharpen their edge heading into Italia 90. West Germany, 1990. West Germany claims its 3rd World Cup title in 1990 with a 1-0 victory over Argentina in what is widely regarded as the worst final in tournament history. The match, a rematch of the 1986 final, features just 1 goal, a 85th minute penalty by Andreas Bremer, and sees Argentina reduced to 9 men after 2 red cards. The game is defined by cynicism and physicality rather than quality, capping a tournament that averages only 2.2 goals per match, the lowest in World Cup history. Defensive tactics dominate, and matches often drag through extra time with minimal attacking risk. One indirect consequence of this stagnation is a global debate about the back pass rule, which is eventually changed in 1992 to prevent goalkeepers from picking up intentional passes with their hands. Despite the negativity, the tournament delivers drama elsewhere. England reaches the semi-finals, where Paul Gascoigne's tears after a yellow card make him a national symbol of heartbreak. West Germany's victory, their 3rd overall, confirms their status as the most consistent force in international football. But 4 years later, the spotlight shifts to the United States, where football's global reach begins to expand, and a penalty shootout decides a World Cup for the first time. Brazil, 1994. Brazil wins its 4th World Cup in 1994, but the title comes in the most cautious and attritional fashion. The final against Italy ends 0-0 after 120 minutes, forcing the first ever World Cup final decided by a penalty shootout. Roberto Baggio, Italy's talisman throughout the tournament, skies the decisive kick over the crossbar, sealing Brazil's victory. Despite the lack of goals, Brazil's front line, led by Romario and Bebeto, delivers key performances earlier in the tournament, combining flair with discipline in a team built around defensive solidity. The tournament, hosted by the United States, sets a new attendance record with 3.6 million spectators across 9 cities. Off the field, it's as bizarre as it is historic. The opening ceremony sees Diana Ross famously miss an unguarded penalty, while Diego Maradona is expelled after testing positive for ephedrine following a fiery return. The spectacle helps plant deeper roots for soccer in the American sports landscape. With Brazil now holding a record 4 titles, the stage is set for the emergence of a new footballing power in 1998, one that hosts, dominates, and introduces the world to Zidane. France, 1998. France hosts and wins its first World Cup in 1998, triumphing on home soil with a balanced, multi-ethnic squad that redefines national identity through football. The tournament expands to 32 teams for the first time, allowing broader global representation and ushering in new football markets. FIFA also introduces the golden goal rule for extra time, adding sudden death drama to knockout matches. France cruises through the group stage, edges past Paraguay and Italy, and demolishes Croatia's dream run in the semi-final to reach the final against defending champions Brazil. The final at the Stade de France is dominated by a single figure, Zinedine Zidane, who scores 2 first-half headers from corners, leading France to a 3-0 win. Brazil, meanwhile, is thrown into disarray by a mysterious medical crisis. Star striker Ronaldo suffers a seizure just hours before the match, but still starts, clearly off form. The French team blends superstition and ritual. Laurent Blanc famously kisses goalkeeper Fabien Barthet's bald head before every match. The title unites the country in a moment of cultural and sporting pride. France's rise as a global football force sets the tone for a new millennium, one that begins with Brazil's revenge tour in 2002. Brazil 2002. Brazil captures its 5th World Cup title in 2002, becoming the most successful nation in the tournament's history. The event marks a series of firsts. The first World Cup held in Asia, the first jointly hosted by 2 countries, South Korea and Japan, and the first to stage matches across such vast geographic distances. After a disappointing 1998 final, Ronaldo returns with a vengeance, scoring 8 goals across the tournament, including both strikes in the 2-0 final against Germany. His redemption arc becomes the defining story of the tournament. Elsewhere, the competition is full of controversy. South Korea stuns the football world by reaching the semi-finals, defeating Italy and Spain in matches riddled with questionable officiating that sparks global debate. Brazil, meanwhile, navigates the tournament with a fearsome front three of Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho, though Rivaldo draws criticism for a blatant dive against Turkey that leads to a red card. Brazil's 5th star cements its dominance in the modern era, but questions about refereeing and tournament integrity linger. 4 years later, the world turns to Germany, where another power reclaims the throne, and Zidane writes both his masterpiece and his exit. Italy, 2006. Italy wins its 4th World Cup in 2006, defeating France in a tense final that ends 1-1 after extra time and is decided by penalties. The tournament opens under the shadow of the Calciopoli match-fixing scandal back home, with several top Serie A clubs implicated just days before kickoff. But on the field, Italy rallies behind a rock-solid defense led by captain Fabio Cannavaro and goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon, conceding just 2 goals, one an own goal, the other a penalty, across 7 matches. Marco Materazzi, both hero and villain, scores Italy's equalizer in the final and plays a key role in its most infamous moment. In extra time, Zinedine Zidane, playing the final match of his career, is sent off for headbutting Materazzi after an alleged verbal insult. The incident overshadows what had been a brilliant tournament for Zidane, who also scored a Panenka-style penalty in the 7th minute. Italy holds firm through extra time and triumphs in the shootout, with Fabio Grosso converting the decisive penalty to secure a 5-3 win. The title is a redemptive triumph amid scandal, and it restores Italy's place among football's elite. 4 years later, a different kind of dominance emerges, built not on defense, but on possession and precision. Spain, 2010. Spain grinds their way to World Cup glory in 2010, winning not with flair, but with suffocating control. They beat the Netherlands 1-0 in the final, deep into extra time. It's Andres Iniesta who finally breaks through, scoring in the 116th minute to seal Spain's first ever World Cup. His celebration, shirt off, tribute to a fallen friend, becomes iconic. The goal comes after a brutal match, with Dutch fouls piling up and cards flying from Howard Webb's pocket like confetti. There are 14 yellow cards in total, a record for a World Cup final. The Netherlands tries to muscle their way past Spain's midfield web, but it doesn't work. Tiki-taka reaches its tactical peak in South Africa. Slow, methodical, endless possession. Spain scores just 8 goals across the entire tournament, fewer than any champion before or since. But it's enough. The golden generation delivers, not with a bang, but with total control. Germany, 2014. Germany wins its 4th World Cup in 2014 with a dramatic 1-0 extra-time victory over Argentina, secured by Mario Götze's 113th minute volley. The final, held at the Maracanã in Rio de Janeiro, is tightly contested and marked by missed chances and high-pressure duels. Manuel Neuer, Germany's goalkeeper, redefines the position with his aggressive, high-line sweeper keeper style, rushing out of his box to intercept attacks and acting as an 11th outfield player. The victory makes Germany the first European nation to win a World Cup in South America, breaking the continent's long-standing home field stronghold. But the defining moment of the tournament comes in the semi-final, where Germany dismantles host nation Brazil 7-1 in Belo Horizonte. 5 goals are scored in the first 29 minutes, silencing the stadium and leaving Brazil in collective shock. Miroslav Klose scores in that match to become the World Cup's all-time top scorer with 16 goals, surpassing Ronaldo. The tournament also sees record heat in cities like Manaus, testing players with extreme humidity and intense midday temperatures. Germany's efficient, modernized football sets a new global benchmark, just as the next World Cup ushers in a new era of youth, flair, and technology. France 2018. France wins its second World Cup in 2018 with a 4-2 victory over Croatia in the highest-scoring final since 1966. The tournament, held in Russia, marks the debut of video assistant referee VAR, which plays a key role in the final by confirming a first-half penalty for France. Les Bleus combine youth and discipline, with standout performances from Paul Pogba, Antoine Griezmann, and N'Golo Kanté anchoring a tactically versatile side. Kylian Mbappé, just 19 years old, scores in the final and becomes the youngest scorer in a World Cup final since Pelé in 1958. Croatia, led by Luka Modric, reaches its first final after 3 straight knockout wins in extra time or penalties, including an emotional semi-final triumph over England. The tournament also sets a new record for own goals, with 12 scored, reflecting the high pressing and unpredictable tempo of modern football. France's blend of athleticism, structure, and counter-attacking precision overwhelms opponents throughout the tournament. Their win signals a generational shift, as established powers regroup and a certain Argentine legend prepares for one final run on the sport's grandest stage. Argentina 2022. Argentina wins the 2022 World Cup in one of the most electrifying finals in tournament history, defeating France on penalties after a 3-3 draw through extra time. Lionel Messi, in his 5th World Cup, scores twice and wins the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player, finally capturing the one trophy that had eluded him. The final swings wildly. Argentina leads 2-0 at halftime. France responds with 2 Kylian Mbappé goals in 97 seconds. Then both stars score again in extra time. Mbappé completes a hat trick, the first in a final since 1966, but still finishes runner-up. The match is instantly hailed by many as the greatest World Cup final ever played. Argentina's path to glory isn't smooth. They open the tournament with a shocking 2-1 loss to Saudi Arabia, sparking fears of early elimination. But the team rallies, driven by Messi's brilliance and the defiance of goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez, whose penalty shootout heroics and over-the-top celebrations become viral moments. Argentina's victory delivers a poetic ending to Messi's international career and restores their status among football's elite. With 3 stars now stitched on their crest, the world turns to 2026 and a new continent-spanning tournament era. If you enjoyed diving into football history, I've got a lot more coming. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.